Welcome to the Clockwork Percussion Podcast. Today we have Shane Thompson.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Great, man. So you're a longtime drummer, longtime friend, and
Yeah.
really appreciate you coming on. What are you up to nowadays?
So right now, still working on the project that you were originally in, Shape Pitaki. We started that. It's been about 11 years ago, I believe. I think it was like 2012.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we just finished our third album and released it last year in May. It's called Let's Get Gnarly and Die. And the previous one to that was Let's Get Gnarly and Chill. And then, yeah, you originally worked on, developing some of the songs for Lonely This Is, which was our first
That's
full
right.
length.
Yes.
And, yeah, you were Shape's first drummer, I'm pretty sure, which is pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
And, I think we were talking about this the other night at the Wayfair, and I was like, hey, Max, so are you going to be able to record the album with us? And you're like, I got a new career, and I'm, in a relationship with this chick right now, and I don't think I can make it happen. I'm like,
man.
Dang, that sucks.
I suck. That is so... Yeah, when we were talking about that, I was just like, you should have just punched me, dude. And been like, dude, it's like, shut up. You're playing on this record.
Hey, I don't want to force anyone to make, do music, or like, if, you got stuff going on, it happens with everyone. And yeah, especially then, but even now, sometimes, it's like, it's hard to make sacrifices to, you got so much responsibilities and things going on in your life. And yeah, sometimes it's hard to, find the time and energy to commit to like a album, especially like a full length. You know, we spent probably, I don't know how many weekends we would go to Big Scary Tree Studios. Shout out to Jeb up in Sunland and record that. And
Wow.
I think it was over about a year that we probably spent recording and tracking and then mixing and mastering.
Yeah.
So because it had to have been more than a year, because we didn't release it until 2014, like in the fall.
Okay.
So it's a lot to ask. And I had Greg Johnson, Brett Peliquin, Carlin Walth, who are all participating on the album, and then I had to be forced to play drums, play drums and guitar and some keys and stuff like that. But it turned out good. It would have been rad to have you on it, but it is what it is.
I feel pretty badly about that.
No, I get it, but maybe I'll get you to play on another album one day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you couldn't have found a better replacement in Mike Wilson.
Yeah,
He's amazing.
He's a really awesome drummer, and I think yes, you were the first. He was probably like the fourth or fifth in between that time. In between
Really?
like 2 years, I was trying to find another drummer who could play these songs live and play them well. And yeah, going through a couple of guys here and there, and just wasn't feeling right, or it felt like a lot of coaching them through how I wanted the songs to go. And then it was Mike who I was playing with the Kettle Drivers. I was playing drums with Greg and Carlin Walth, and we played a show. I'm pretty sure it was, of course, either Big Monster or Gardner's. It might have been Gardner's Logic in Santa Ana at like that thrift store. Do you remember that when they're having shows?
Yeah. What was that place called?
Something Dusty or Dirt Spin or something like. I forget, but it was kind of just a used clothing store that was kind of hip and trendy within like the local scene. And Beatnik Bandito?
Right. That was it.
Oh no, Beatnik's something.
I think that was it.
Oh, okay.
Beatnik Bandito.
Yeah. And they would host shows there, and a lot of our bands were playing. But anyway, we played our set. Oh, it might have been Hank and Her Ponies show when I was playing drums with Ryan Ratfield.
Okay.
And Lauren Chanel Cobb and Ryan Bartholomew. And I saw Mike playing in Gardner's, I believe. Gardner's a big monster. And I'm like, that's a good drummer right there.
Yeah.
He's kind of exactly what I'm looking for. And I went up to him. Yeah, this is 2014. I'm like, hey man, do you want to? Would you be interested in like playing in other bands? You know, like I have a project of my own, and I think you'd fit really well. It's like, well, I don't know. I kind of have a lot of bands right now, but let's see. We can figure something out. And so he's like, he said, yeah, come on over to my house in the next couple of days and give me the album and blah, blah, blah. And I walk in, and it's his going away kind of graduation party because he was going to Europe for like a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. And so I walk in, it's like his whole family, and I'm like, hi, I'm Shane. I'm here to give a CD to Mike for my band. And yeah, so that's kind of how it went. And yeah, it's been a good 9 years playing with Mike, and yeah, it's great. And then obviously, he owns the studio Maps in Fullerton, and he asked me if I wanted to come work with him and manage the place. So yeah, that's where we're at now with that. So
Oh, you're still doing that?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been about 5 years working there. I think it was 2018, like June or May. And yeah, just managing the place and kind of handling artist relations and making sure everything's stocked and handling all the if any gear gets damaged or needs replacing or needs some like tuning up or stuff like that. So
Okay. So I want to dig into that a little bit more, but
Sure.
before we move on,
Sure.
how can listeners hear Shape Pitaki?
yeah, basically you just have to spell it right on the internet. We're the only things you're gonna find besides like former Governor George Pataki or Helga Pataki, but we're Shape Pitaki, even though that's how you say it. I know it's kind of weird, but think shiitake mushroom with ape tit in the middle. That's what I always tell people. So shape, the first word, and then Pitaki is the second word, Pitaki. And if you search that in, you're going to find us. Yeah, and that name, I'll do the history because everyone loves hearing the history behind that. I think you might have been part of us deciding this name too, or you were pretty close to around that time because I went through like a list of like 70 names and pitched them to like Greg and Carlin and Brett, probably you, and they were like, no, let's just keep it Shape Pitaki, like that's who you are, and that's what resonates, and it's weird. And so how I got that name was my neighbors. When my family moved to our new house when I was like 10, the neighbor kid, he's like 3, he couldn't say Shane, so he said Shape. And then we were trying to get him to say Last Chance Detective, and he said Last Chance Pitaki. And I thought that was especially hilarious. And then they just started calling me Shape Pitaki. And that's pretty much it.
Super cool, super unique, and I do remember the list. And
yeah.
I like the name. I just always liked it. So
Yeah.
glad you stuck with it.
Yeah, it's kind of me. It really does represent me, and it's weird, and I kind of have to say it a couple times to get people to lock in, but yeah, it just kind of fits, So
Yeah, and then once you know it, you can't forget it.
right. Well, that's the hope. Yeah. But yeah, and if you just search us online, Spotify, Bandcamp, YouTube, all that good stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I'll
You'll
put
find us.
some links in all the descriptions as well.
Yeah.
All right, so you are the studio manager at Maps in Fullerton, and obviously you've recorded there. What else should we know about Maps?
So Maps is a pretty cool place. It's a studio that like hosts freelance producers and engineers. So, I'll do a little bit of backstory. I'll try not to make it too long, but like Mike Wilson started Maps when he was like 19. He originally had a spot in a warehouse that was built out. Did it for a few years. That was kind of when I first met him, and then it got shut down. He got pushed out, kind of zoning issue BS and stuff like that. Are we allowed to cuss on this podcast?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, fuck yeah.
Explicit.
Fuck yeah. And so he then, moved all his stuff out. He was super bummed, but he started working at different studios, friends that he knew, like John O'Brien's studio, The Music Box. I know there's a couple down in San Diego. I think he worked at a Hybrid Studios, RIP, in Fountain Valley.
Oh, okay.
And then Mike Filson of Artisan's label, he heard that Mike, they'd never met each other, but they kind of knew mutual people. And Mike Filson contacted Wilson and was like, "Hey, dude, I heard you're looking for a spot, and you should come check out my space. I had a producer leave, and he took some gear with him and stuff like that. And basically, they merged. It was a perfect match. And Mike brought in a lot of gear. He brought in a lot of clients. He recorded like 10 albums that year, which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
But then Mike started working with other artists going on tour. Like he works with Kamasi Washington and other names like that. And friends that were producers and engineers would be like, "Hey, would I be able to use your studio while you're gone?" And he's like, "Yeah, that sounds great. I know you, I trust you. Here's the keys and the codes and everything. And yeah, come on in and treat it like your own place." And we got kind of thinking like, "Oh, this might be a good opportunity to kind of start kind of bridging and like building the community back in music." And so we basically said, any friends who are producers and engineers that are interested in a spot, like come check out our place. And from there we've kind of got on to a way that we can get newer producers that we don't know, and they might just find us through the internet, like a Google search, and they'll ask about it, and we'll bring them in, give them a tour, and then we kind of give different options of how we could make it work best for them. And that whole idea is kind of a subscription idea where you pay a certain amount a month, and kind of like a lockout, really.
Okay.
And you get a certain amount of hours for the month. And we did our numbers, did our math, and we were able to come up with an amount that is really affordable, and it kind of takes away some of that stress for the producers and engineers, of having to be like, "Oh, how can I like make this money, each month?" And we were able to do it, like, especially for people who want to commit to a year, be like, "We're going to hook you up on the rate, as opposed to, just any visiting producer, because you're, making a commitment to us. So we want to make sure that you're good and you're not worried." So that's worked out really, really well. We've had a lot of people who are super, super stoked and been really thankful kind of that opportunity. And, but with that too, we also we do have an online booking system, which producers can just go any time of the day, look at the calendar, book some time, and the payments all like through automatic kind of credit charge, ACH or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and they're allowed to use all the gear that's in there. Some of the producers even bring in their own gear that they allow others to use. And everyone's, super respectful. If we haven't had too many things break or need repair from any other artists, but even when that happens, everyone's respectful and it makes sure that it's going to be taken care of. So yeah, it's a really cool thing. We're trying to build up the community a little bit more. We were doing the Maps podcast for a little while.
Mike was telling me about that.
Yeah, and we want to get that back up and going, but we want to maybe polish it up a little bit better. We'd like to do like video, stuff too.
Sure.
So, all that stuff kind of takes a little bit of time and planning to get it right. So those episodes are still available if you want to listen to the Maps podcast. But yeah, hopefully we'll get another thing going. And yeah, our idea is to kind of build the music community. We usually do like parties once, in the winter holiday season, and then like the summer. That kind of changed with COVID, so we haven't really done them the past few years, but we're hoping to get those started again. Just kind of an opportunity for people to network, producers or artists or engineers or musician friends and stuff like that. So, it's been going good, and we have another location in New York City, which is where
really,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, we haven't done a full push with advertising it out there, but yeah, it is open and available. So I could chat with you more about it. But it's pretty cool because Mike Filson, he left Orange County probably about, I want to say maybe 14 years ago, something like that. His dream was to live in like New York City, and so he did that. And during the at some point in time, he was able to get his hands on a really, really nice spot, like overlooking Central Park.
Wow.
And yeah, basically kind of made it into a pretty cool studio. So you can record most everything except drums. That's
Okay.
the only, like it is treated and soundproof to a certain extent, but not enough to have a full drum kit in there. It's
Okay.
just too hard to do. But yeah, vocals, guitars, keys. He even has like a green screen wall for doing like video content. Podcasts, obviously, you can do as well. So I visited in October, and it's pretty awesome. It's cozy, like it's a studio apartment in New York, but it's awesome, and it has like a lot of amenities that are included within the condo. I almost want to say hotel because that's what it feels like. It's really nice. And yeah, I think it's on like the 14th floor or something. Maybe that's why I said 14. But
so that's a unique experience.
it's really cool. It's really something else. And and part of with like the maps, ideas is we want to have a bunch of different locations throughout the country, maybe throughout the world one day. But and that idea is not necessarily always opening our own, but maybe partnering with other studios and kind of showing them our formula and what we do and getting them all hyped on it.
The model sounds like a great opportunity for both producers and bands to pair up at one place instead of like having to have all that overhead as a producer.
Or especially if they're on tour, if you're on the road and you're like,
oh, okay.
We got to get a song going and we have like a day off and we're in New York or, whatever other city that we hopefully get to. And it's like, okay, our producer is a producer with maps. Like hopefully he can get us in there or something like that. One of those types of things. And yeah, that's our main goal, to kind of branch out and get that eventually.
That's killer.
Yeah.
So do you guys have like a main engineer on hand, or is it just like whoever the band brings in?
Pretty much. It's kind of like, I guess Mike Wilson probably is kind of a quote head engineer, but really, like let's say for instance, I'll get an email from a band looking to record some time, or an artist or whatever, and I'll kind of ask them some general questions like, what kind of music are you into? How many songs are you looking to record? What's your budget like? And I, whether it's hip hop or R&B or jazz or blues or rock or punk, I'll take that information, and then kind of we'll go through our producers, and I'll hit one of them up and see like, hey, would you want to take on this client? Like, this seems like it might be a good fit for you. So that's like one of the ways.
Okay.
But otherwise, any of our producers that join, the idea is that they bring in their own clients. We try to do our best to like help them gain clients, but that's not like our priority right now.
Right.
Eventually one day, yeah, we will have a funnel system kind of put in place to where we can get stuff from social media or the internet and be like, okay, here's a group of, serious artists or bands that are interested in recording time. Let's, get them in touch with our producers and let them go from there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so how can we find maps?
The website is recordatmaps.com, and it's, so record AT, not the @ sign, but recordatmaps.com. And you can check out, what it looks like. There's an email contact that you can hit us up there and just kind of ask questions and stuff. And we're located in Fullerton, near Cal State Fullerton, and it's a pretty cool spot. And I think if anything, one of our main selling points, funny enough, as I'm on a drumming podcast, is the drums that we get in our live room. The sound that having, any number of mics, 8 kits or whatever he has in there. That's always been a pretty consistent thing among our producers, is how good that room sounds. Because we have a main Studio A that's got a full live room with an upright piano, a Rhodes. It's got a bunch of amps and guitars, a bunch of drum sets, like I said, an ISO booth, my closet, and then a separate control room for A with a bunch of analog gear. It's got an Audient console, which is really rad, and then we have our lounge that's shared between Studio A and Studio B, and Studio B is like a production suite that's mostly used by guys that are doing hip hop or maybe like some pop vocals or like one-on-one more intimate setting. It's a smaller room, but it works great if you're guys that are just working in the box and not needing too much craziness. But yeah, our main selling point is that live room in A, and you wanting to get some good live drum sounds.
I went to Maps once, a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think Steve Majora was there
at
the time, and Greg was mixing something. And
oh, cool.
But I remember the live tracking room being awesome.
Yeah.
And just being big, and I was impressed by the whole layout. So that's sick. Yeah, I hope to go back and visit again sometime soon or record there.
Of course, man. Just let me know.
Who's your favorite drummer?
My favorite drummer. I'll say kind of the list of favorites, if anything.
Sure.
That works.
Yeah.
I think growing up, I drums were my first instrument, and I took lessons with this guy Bill Hartel in Westminster, and he got me super into Dave Weckl from a young age.
Okay.
Yeah, I just his how easy he was able to hit everything and just make it look so effortless was so cool. And it was, I don't know. I just really liked his style. But then Neil Peart, of course,
For sure.
Billy Cobham from Mahavishnu.
Yeah.
That was brain explosion. Oh my God, this guy's amazing.
Yes.
Obviously got into Travis Barker because it was the 2000s, and and he's such a great technical drummer. Taylor Hawkins, R.I.P., but he was a beast. And then Dave Grohl. Obviously, I have a lot of Foo Fighters influences. And then even in the punk world, what was his name? Henry Bogdan, is that right? From Poison Idea. That's one of that's like a hardcore punk band from the 80s, and Pick Your King is one of the funnest albums to play along to. It's so fast. It's kind of oddly technical for punk stuff. It's not just straight all the time. He does a lot of weird stuff with crashes and kind of odd timing, and even the hi-hat. I think that's his name, and I think he ended up playing for what's that band? It's heavy. No, not Heavy Pedal. Helmet. I think he ended up playing for Helmet.
All right.
That drummer. So
Poison Idea was the first band he was in.
I believe. Yeah, I believe so. I could be wrong in his name, but he was that drummer. Pick Your King. That album is so fun.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's hard to say all time drummer. I mean, it'd probably be Dave Grohl. Just his power and strength, and the stuff that he's done with Them Crooked Vultures, besides Foo Fighters and Nirvana, and then just kind of all the doing Tenacious D, that album.
Yeah.
That's a great album. So
I saw a clip today just scrolling through the gram, and Pharrell was interviewing Dave Grohl, and they were talking about Nirvana, and he's like, yeah, it's all disco.
Yeah, right.
Beats, all the get it, all that stuff comes from 1970s disco influences. He said this one guy that I can't remember his name, heavily influenced him, showed up to one of his parties, and he was like, "Oh, hey man, thanks, I took so much from all your playing." The guy was just like, "Yeah, I know." He told
funny.
Dave Grohl that. It's damn, bro.
That's so. Yeah, I think I've heard that interview. They just stole, took little fills just from disco, which is hilarious, and then to incorporate into grunge. You know?
Yeah.
But That's a very, when you think about it and break it down just in that setting and avoid all the other music, it's like, oh yeah, that's like some Earth, Wind, and Fire shit. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
What sticks do you use?
I use Vic Firth's the 5A. I was using SD4 combos for a long time. They're not a well-known stick. Like they're like a jazz stick. It might have been Dave Weckl too who used them at some point. But like small tip, they're super light. I just liked having them. I liked being able to throw them around, but they don't give you a ton of volume because they're so light.
Right.
That was the one probably drawback. But yeah, when I do play now, probably just like the 5As, pretty standard and feels, good balance. I remember when those what's the name from Tool?
Danny Carey.
Danny Carey. His sticks that came out with the ball in the middle.
Yeah, the weird freaking grip.
Yeah, I really wanted to get into those, and I just couldn't.
Yeah.
I think my first pair, funny enough, was those Ahead metal aluminum sticks.
Oh, nice.
It's funny because they're like, I wasn't playing metal, I was just playing anything, but my parents were like, okay, what's going to last the longest? Because these sticks and these things, and they didn't know whether I was going to stick, pun intended, no pun intended, with drums,
Right.
and music in general. And so they're like, okay, let's get something that's going to last as long as possible. And we even put and it was my drum teacher too. He kind of told me like, oh yeah, you can buy these. They're aluminum. They got like a plastic sheath on the, where you hit it. And then we put like tennis grip on the ends because it's so slippery.
Yeah.
The aluminum part is where you actually have your hands at. And if you're sweaty at all, which I definitely am when I play, like they slip and slide all over the place, but you put tennis grip on it and it worked perfectly. A lot of years.
Okay. Yeah, and then you can replace those tips. I've never owned a pair, but
yeah,
they're interesting.
I don't remember if I replaced them. I don't know how long I mean, I probably still have them somewhere, but yeah, they're probably beat to shit and just totally shredded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so walk us through your drum kit.
My drum kit, if I can remember, yeah, it's a Ludwig Diamond Black Pearl set. It's a reissue, 24 kick, 13 tom, 16 floor, 18 floor, and then I still do have this. It came with a snare too, so that was just 14, standard. Great kit. It's such a solid kit. I don't take care of it as well as I should because I haven't played drums consistently for quite a while now. But yeah, Mike Wilson, you said you're gonna help me out with those. So one of these days I'll take them over to Maps and have you clean them up. But and then I've always been and I got the drum kit from West Coast Drums.
Oh,
R.I.P.
Yeah, man.
It was such a cool shop. And shout out to Darren. He sold me the kit. And yeah, it doesn't look as nice as it used to, but it still plays so great. I love those size toms and drums, shells in general. The 18's hard to keep in tune.
Yeah.
I stopped I didn't play that too much, after a while, and back in the two-tone tantrum days, I think that's when I got the kit.
Right.
But it's still cool to have that 18, it's just big and beefy and just wild. So yeah, one day I'll get those nice and cleaned up. And then I assume the next question is what kind of cymbal guy?
You're damn right.
That's right. And I have, for whatever reason, I've always liked Sabian. And it's funny how it's like you are either Zildjian or you're Sabian, like pasties, whatever. We're not talking about you, but and yeah, I don't know what it was with. I think overall I felt Sabians were balanced in my opinion. I felt like Zildjians seemed more bright, and I think that's a kind of a similar take on guitars. Is like, I'm a Martin guy through and through because I feel like it's overall just more balanced, where like Taylors are in general a little bit more bright. So I'm kind of looking for, and obviously, I've played more Zildjian since then. Yeah, they make a lot of really good cymbals that I don't mind playing at all, like the A series. And but yeah, it's funny as a kid, because I started when I was 11 or 12, and then it's like you make your choice, like you're sticking with this team. You can't have mix match cymbals of all different styles, because that's not cool. They need to be all the same brand, and they need to be, you got to just choose a team.
Well, I know you're probably looking at my kit right now and thinking I'm a Zildjian guy.
Yeah.
But I'm totally a Sabian guy now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I started with Peisty, and then I had like Zildjian hats and crash cymbals. These Zildjian crashes are practice cymbals. They're all cracked.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't like using like the fine china unless it's a recording or a show.
Good.
And so, that ride cymbal is a 20-inch Sabian ride that I got for $80 at Guitar Center.
Killer. It looks nice.
It's a piece of shit, but it sounds decent, and I use it for practice only.
Cool.
Or like a gig where I'm like, I don't care about this gig, But everything else in my bag is like the show-worthy stuff.
Cool.
And you actually gave me my first Sabian crash cymbal.
Oh, yeah?
It had a small crack in it, but it was back when we were playing. Yeah, it was like an AAX crash, and I was like...
Is it the AAX Explosion? Is that the one or no?
Well, I have that now.
Oh, okay.
But it was an 18-inch.
Yeah.
Man, it's at my house. I still have it.
Right.
It's just more cracked because I played the shit out of it.
Yeah. Wild.
But thanks. You gave me my first Sabian crash, and it turned the tide in that direction.
That's what flipped you. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I've played them all. I had Meinl Classics crashes, broke those. And I'm not a huge fan of their like high end stuff. It's pretty like dark and earthy. And I like, just like you, I like the balance of Sabian stuff. I feel like depending on what line you go with for Zildjian, like it's going to be darker. Sabian has like their ride bells are always great. And that's super important for me as like a metal punk guy, like because I hit the ride bell at the shoulder of the stick. Like it's super abrasive, and so I need it to like really stand out. But cool. So you got the Ludwig, you got all the big dimensions. Those are awesome.
Soul Tones. Do you ever try Soul Tones?
I have not.
Mike does the Soul Tone train, and those are pretty cool. And then I do have to give some credit. I think it's Peisty that has the giant beat, right?
Yes.
That's a great friggin' cymbal.
Yeah.
Everything else about Peisty, I don't know, but that cymbal in particular is a great cymbal.
Yeah, well, Peisty's unique because they don't hand hammer anything. It's all machine made.
Okay.
And I think they're all made in either Germany or Switzerland.
Okay.
That's where they're based out of. And I still have a pair of 2002 hats somewhere. And I went through a few of their crashes too, but yeah, they're a good brand. It's just like that was Bonham's brand. He used the 2002s.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, right.
So, all right. So,
and I don't know how I forgot about him on the list. Like freaking Bonham. Like
it's obligatory.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put it like when I ask that question like above as a sign, like say Bonham.
Yeah.
And you got the Ludwig kit, so like obviously there's a little bit of you twisted your arm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you had an unlimited budget, what would your dream kit look like?
Oh man, asking me that at like 14 when I was in the midst of it, one of the kits was at this place called Zion Music where I took lessons, and it had the full like metal rack thing.
Okay.
And it was a PV kit with these weird fucking toms. Like they had like a lip like that would go outward. Like there's the main drum center, right? And then it would like come out on both the top and the bottom of the head.
What?
It was so weird, and it just sat there forever. Who knows if they were ever purchased by anyone, but I don't know what it was about that kit. I'm like, that thing's cool. And it was probably like a 10, 12, 13 thing, and then like a 14 or probably like a 15 or a 16, 18 or something, and I don't know what it was, but that time having like that cage thing,
The rack.
The rack, yeah. It
So
was like
Peavy?
yeah,
Like
at
the
that
amp
time.
company?
Yes, yeah, they made drums.
The
I think
fuck?
it was the 80s that they
Okay.
made drums.
Was it wood?
That's a good question. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But you can look it up.
You gotta look that up.
It's pretty wild. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think they're like now definitely worth some money because they're such an oddball and they didn't make very many of them.
Right.
And I don't know if I even like sat down and played them, but I was like, those things are so cool. And it might have been yellow too. Like,
Wow.
you know, it was very weird. I was like looking back, I'm like, why did I want that? But I have no idea. But I've always wanted. I was really close to getting a champagne glitter or sparkle DW kit. You know, probably would have been a 22 kick, and I really do like the Ludwig size of 13 for the rack, and
I'm rocking 13 as
yeah,
well.
I really like that size for Tom. You know, played many years with a Apex with a 10 and 12, and that 13 makes so much more sense.
Yep.
And I never thought too I'd not have the secondary tom, but it just is easier, and especially when you're gigging.
Yeah.
It's so much nicer to just not have that extra tom to set up.
Yeah. And as fun as drum fills are, and I love metal, and
Yeah.
I've seen a ton of bands with, just 5 toms, but it's
Yeah.
like, keep the beat.
Yeah.
Play the song.
Yeah, yeah, and even within most songs that you're gonna play, if you're ever playing someone else's stuff, you don't need all those toms.
Yeah.
You really don't.
You can only play 2 at one time anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Doing the rack tom and the floor, doing a ride and 2 crashes, hi-hat, just like you have it. That's all you need.
That's the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, and I remember having a splash cymbal. I remember having a China, it was a mini China, I think. I remember having, the wood block, all those like percussion things. And it's so funny. And it's just like, ugh, I have to set all this shit up again.
Yeah.
Like playing shows and doing that. Drummers have the most shit to set up.
Absolutely.
100%. The most shit to bring and the most to set up. So for other musicians out there, always try to give your drummer a hand.
Yeah.
If you want to keep your drummer and if you appreciate and value your drummer, always, try to, hey, can I, carry some stuff in for you?
Yeah. It goes such a long way.
And then, especially getting stuff off the stage. I will. Do you mind if I tell a quick story about
Please.
very bad drum etiquette? Very bad. And this was, when I was touring with a band in the past few years, and this band was the opener for us for a few shows. And this drummer, I will not name names. This was so frustrating. I think we played like a handful of shows with them, maybe like 6. And the very first night, this drummer, I'm going to try not to use pronouns either, but this drummer was, setting up their stuff, whatever. The set goes great, and then this drummer comes, or it just this person takes forever to get their stuff off the stage, like taking cymbals off, putting them in the bag,
Breaking down on stage. No.
And this was a decent drummer who I had heard had played for other artists, but maybe they just were lucky enough to have someone else do that for them. But
it's the worst.
This drummer was breaking down on stage, taking forever. This drummer was the last one on stage. None of the bandmates helped this person. The manager of this band did not help this person. And, we're just like looking at our watches like, what the hell? Like, let's get this show on the road. I think that night, too, the drummer misplaced a bag and was asking us, hey, have you guys seen this bag or seen my in-ears? I think this drummer lost the in-ears. And this happened like every show.
Ugh.
Every show we were waiting for this drummer. Like What are you doing? What's the rest of your band doing?
At a certain point, it becomes everyone's fault.
And especially, what's your manager doing?
Yeah, why are you
What's
there?
your manager doing? The manager's, chit-chatting with other people, doing whatever. And second to last show that we play with him, finally, like, our tour manager's like, he talks to him and he says, hey, you got to help this drummer get their shit off the stage, because this is just unacceptable. This is so disrespectful. This is etiquette 101 for when you're playing live.
Yeah, pull your shit off as it is and then break it down off stage.
Yeah, and do the same usually for when if you're in between a couple bands, like, put your cymbals on the stands, get them set up, put your toms, get those set up, and then carry everything on so you can get going quick.
Absolutely.
So don't be like that drummer, and don't drive other musicians insane when you take forever. It's all about, like, keeping set times short, or keeping the flow going, because you don't want to make the audience wait either, because then they're going to leave.
Right, and you nailed it, respecting the band after use time. Yeah, the audience, like, they want the. If you're watching a show, if you're like a common, general admission ticket holder, you want to use the bathroom, get another drink, maybe smoke a cigarette, or like have a short conversation, 15 minutes, and then you're off. The next band's playing.
And I will give another little bit of advice for drummers as well. If you're using a backline kit from a place or from other musicians, always remember to bring your cymbals, bring your sticks, and probably bring your snare. Maybe bring your kick pedal if you feel more comfortable with that. But, those are some of the things that you need to always be prepared to bring. And if for some reason you forget something, don't like, try to be nice with the other band or the other bands and be like, hey, I'm really sorry, I forgot my snare.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay if I borrow yours? Most likely they're going to be like, yeah, just, be nice.
Yeah.
Be respectful. Don't not say anything and then try to drive home and go get your snare, even if you live local in Costa Mesa. And if you're listening to this, you know who you are. I was so mad. Like, dude, just ask Mike. Just ask Mike to borrow one. Like, oh, okay. God, you guys killing me.
Vince from Gardener's Logic used to book for Detroit Bar before it was Wayfair.
Yeah.
And he gave me the best piece of advice for just being in a band in general. He's like, whenever you're on a bill, you're there from doors till close. And then the bands are your new best friends.
Yeah.
Because if you forget something goes wrong, like amp goes out, tube breaks, cable shorts or something like that. These are the people that you're going to need to pull from and ask a favor when things go wrong.
Absolutely. I know. And we all have schedules. We all have early mornings. Well, not always, but like a lot of us have early mornings that we got to wake up to, or we have drives. And the best thing you could do is, just support your, fellow musicians who are trying to do the same thing you're doing.
Yeah.
Whether or not you like their music, they might be someone that can really help you in like a tight situation like that. Yeah, like you broke a head, your cymbal fell over and it cracked or something like that, or you broke a stick and you don't know where your other sticks are. Or for guitarists, your pedal board, one of the batteries went out, There's all those little things, and the whole idea is it shouldn't be every band for itself.
Right.
It should really be, we should be creating a little bit more of a community and try to support each other, try to go to each other's shows. I'm at fault of that, I think, within the last few years. I think that's something that I need to get back into the habit of, really trying to go out to shows and supporting bands, my friends' bands, and just supporting the scene, because it's freaking hard. It's hard getting people out to shows, and it's hard getting, just a few claps. All right.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Like, please, is anyone out there? Well, things have changed a lot since the pandemic, and then big life events. You got married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're all getting older, and
Mike has 2 kids,
Right.
So lots of people are having kids and getting, either more serious with their day job or careers or whatnot. And, it's always tough, but I think it's interesting how we're trying to create this art and try to have fun with it. And yeah, everyone's got shit going on, but sometimes it doesn't take that much to kind of show support.
Totally.
And sometimes it's not even, honestly, sometimes it's not even going to a show, but you see your friends posting, like, add that to your story. If that's your friend, like, click the add button and be like, go see blah, 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 perform at the Wayfarer, go see Louis Devato,
Yeah. Like, comment, get that extra engagement, and all that goes places. And
it's easy, and I
Right.
I feel kind of silly and like that I have to like say that, but come on,
that's the world we live in. It's too easy, really, to like not do.
Yeah.
When you put it that way, it makes me think. It's like, man, how many fucking posts have I skipped? Right, it could have been so simple. To
and I've only, like, to be honest, I've only really thought about that maybe within the past year of like, I can't make it to the show, but I hope other people can, so I'm gonna share it, because I've shared all these stupid joke memes and surfing videos and other things. Like, why not share my buddy's band that are playing? Even if I can't be in attendance, hopefully someone else I know is like, oh yeah, I should go to that show tonight. Or whatever,
it'll reinforce their desire to support.
Yeah.
So what does drumming mean to you, Shane?
Drumming, that's the foundation. Like, it really is. A good drummer makes a band. Like, it really, you can have all the other things, guitars, keys, vocals, songwriting, any kind of little like mixing, mastering tricks. But if the drums don't sound good, or don't sound like, if they don't sound excellent, but they at least don't even sound like good, it's just not there. I think guitars, you can kind of get away with some sloppiness and maybe in some, it obviously depends on the style and genre, but like having really strong, well thought out, like, performance of drums, and I think that's kind of the foundation for any good song. And two, sometimes that is weird style that makes the band, like Keith Moon for The Who.
Yeah.
Like, growing up, I was like, this guy's all over the fucking place, and like, why can't he just play the beat, But he stuck to that and pretty much always did that, and that was his style and his framework, and that band, is one of the all-time greatest bands, and everyone knows when you talk about his drumming, they know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
So, I think that foundation of that backbone beat, the snare, those cymbals, the dynamic ability that you can also usher in with drums. It really, really sets that grounding that you need for a really good song,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I foundation, of course, is a great way to put it. My dad likes to put it like you're the quarterback of the band.
Yeah.
Like calling the plays when you're
definitely
right.
When you talk about Buddy Rich, that's for sure.
Yeah, when you're right, and when you're wrong, you're right, because like
you're
the drummer. It's,
Yeah.
The way I kind of think about it too is like it's like framing a piece of art, like a painting.
Yeah.
Like it keeps everything in, like,
for sure,
in the frame. So the foundation, I really like that. We already went over some tips, but are there any more drumming tips that you would like to impart to the audience?
I mean, just like with any instrument, repetition. Just playing it over and over and over. But also, and I think I heard this from one of your recent guests too on one of your last podcasts. Yeah, you got to listen. You got to listen to the rest of the band. Like, yeah, you are the leader. For the most part, you are keeping the time, but you also got to be able to know, like, when to be quiet, when when to bring your dynamics down a little bit to let the lead guitar shine or let vocals shine, but then you also need to know how to bring it up and really create that excitement, with the big cymbals and big tom fills. I think, and in order to do that, especially when you're playing with other people, is you gotta play around, and you gotta make sure that you're just locking in, with your bassist, with your guitar player, with your singer, with your keyboard player, whoever. Listening is huge, and wear earplugs too, because that will definitely help your listening for years and years to come. I think I started wearing earplugs in like high school, playing in punk bands, because having those cymbals right here at ear level.
Yep.
You feel it the next day.
Yeah.
And earplugs, especially if you're not singing while playing drums, is important. But it's just, I know that's kind of contradictory to listening to the band, but then like you're muffling some of it. But it's pretty important. Or get in-ears, in-ears, so you can hear everything and be a little bit more protected. Oh, but I will give a shout out to ear erasers. I don't know if you've used those earplugs.
No.
Those are great earplugs for cutting out the super highs and the super lows. They're really comfortable. They're like silicone, and then they just have like little pull tags.
Okay.
Earplugs are very important, I feel like.
I have like these strangely small ears.
Yeah.
So like fucking I use those like regular orange ones or the tan ones that you get anywhere.
Right.
But they always they're sticking out super weird, and I have not found a pair of in-ears that have worked for me, which is regrettable, because I'm going to have to get like custom injected ones. Or
whatever. Crazy.
But these Vic Firth headphones, I've had like 2 or 3 pairs now over the years.
Yeah. I think I used to have some of those, or something similar to those for sure, and those are great.
These are great because they do the same kind of thing as the ear erasers that you're talking about, and they balance the frequencies that they cut.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was using like these ones, like the air traffic controller ones, for years,
right?
Or like gunshot ones, and then all you hear is low end,
right?
Like traditional earplugs. But I wish I would have caught on to earplugs a lot sooner, just being into aggressive music. And then, I think I was always kind of playing with the headphones on, except for when I was singing and except live. But the shows, man, just, I always have a constant beep in the background.
Yeah. I do too, a certain amount of time, but yeah, if I go to a show and don't have earplugs, I'm hurting driving home, and then like even in the morning,
and you're like worried about it too, which that anxiety is like no fun,
And now that we're getting older, we got to protect as much as we can, because our bodies are slowly deteriorating. But yeah, earplugs I highly recommend for anyone playing music. And yeah, there's almost no excuse now. Like, yeah, it's it's the one thing of, oh well, it's not cool, or it looks bad, and I kind of feel like wearing in-ears when we play is like, it's not rock and roll. But
no, actually I caught on to that, and I respect it, because playing to a click live is way harder than it seems.
Yeah, it's challenging, but again, you have a good drummer, and it's just it's practice, and it's challenging. We don't play every song to a click. It was only like a couple that we did, and I'll show you some of the new ones too after we cut this off. But yeah, it's fun. I think it brings a little bit of professionalism. It obviously depends on the type of music that you're doing. But yeah, I think for me, like going to in-ears specifically is just so I can hear my voice, like singing. And kind of not, it's easy for me to get distracted sometimes with other things going on. So it kind of like locks me in a little bit better to my own performance.
Okay.
And yeah, because like one of my biggest insecurities is like singing out of key. Like,
you're right.
When I look back at shows and I'm like, oh God, I so bad. And even though it might have not been that noticeable to other people, to me, I'm just like, I want to make sure that I'm always, at the very least, my voice sounds good. That's what I feel like strongest with now. And then like maybe a guitar, and then maybe drumming. But like, I think it's it's nice to hear, as opposed to like off of monitors. There's great engineers and live mixers, but having it just right there in your ears, and we can control it. Mike controls it on his little iPad, so we can just be like,
Awesome.
Mike, like I need a little bit more.
Okay.
Makes things a little bit nicer, a little bit easier. I feel like.
Well, you're a very talented multi-instrumentalist.
Thank
So
you.
Your voice sounds great. I was really impressed by the last show, and
Thanks, man.
all the new songs that I hadn't had the opportunity to hear yet sounded really good. So
Thanks, dude.
yeah,
I appreciate it.
really cool.
Right on. When are
and
you playing next?
We have a show Saturday
Okay.
in downtown LA.
Nice.
It's called Mi Ranchito,
Mi Ranchito.
and yeah, it's just like a bunch of punk metal bands.
Cool.
We just finished tracking our first record.
Nice.
So,
Congrats.
Thanks. We're gonna get that mixed.
Yeah.
And then have a like a fall release. We'll probably do a show at the Wayfarer for that.
Oh yeah.
This is with our new bass player Jeanette.
Oh yeah.
She's playing 5 strings with no pick, so
Cool.
It's pretty cool, and this stuff's really technical.
Yeah.
The guitar player Mike and I really pushed our boundaries, and but we've been playing some of these songs for years. We're sick of them, and we've got like 4 new ones that we're super stoked about.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll get that stuff rolling soon.
Do you have a name for the album yet? Just figuring it out.
Yeah, we're figuring it out.
All right.
I don't want to mention too much until we do it.
All right.
but
Fair enough.
yeah,
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Excited to hear it, man.
yeah.
Let's play a show.
Let's do it. I mean, yeah, it'll be. We could. What other band would we get to play on that bill?
For that stuff, I mean, Big Monster probably, right?
Oh, yeah,
Big
yeah.
Monster would be pretty cool.
That would be a cool bill, actually.
Yeah.
I have they played at all recently?
Here and there, Jimmy's been doing a lot of sound stuff for like Ginger Root and Upsall, so he's been traveling a lot, and then I know he's working on a lot of new Big Monster tunes, so he's keeping shows limited as far as I know, but you never know.
Cool.
Yeah.
That would be a solid bill.
Yeah.
3 bands is good, maybe a 4th one, but
Well, I didn't say we had to play that show with you, but we should play a show at some point.
yeah. I'm getting ahead of myself. The first thing, I just want to go to Eric with a full bill every time. you
Right.
know,
Oh
and be-
no, yeah, that
yeah.
helps.
Totally. I mean, he's greenlit pretty much everything that I've approached him with, and I tell guys, like, not just for the Wayfarer specifically, but it's a lot easier when you go to the promoter with a full bill
Yeah.
and you meet them in person instead of just launching 1,000 emails their way
Right.
and then wondering why they're not getting back to you. It's like, dude,
Right.
you're bugging them. They don't know what your face looks like. You haven't had a conversation about what music you're into. There's no personal connection.
Right.
If you can, go meet this person, have a
Yeah.
conversation.
Go to some shows. Yeah.
Yes.
Go support.
Yeah.
Go be like introduce yourself and be recognized. I've had other bands come like, how do you get shows at Wayfarer? I'm like, well, I have been there for a long time and I go to shows and I support my
Yes.
friends, and I know Eric and I talk to him and chat with him and be like, hey dude, like, if you got any shows, that need an opener or something, let me know. Or otherwise, like, yeah, let's get a Shape show going sometime soon. And that's pretty much it. It really is. You gotta kind of show a little bit of effort and a little bit of commitment to your favorite venue or your local scene, and it happens. It's just a matter of you putting in a little bit of time, as opposed to just like sitting at home and sending off email after email after email.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to be honest, it's tougher nowadays than it was
Mhm.
10 years ago. Music is in a little bit of a slump. Live local music is in a little bit of a slump. So
Yeah.
go to shows, help support, and then get your band a show too, or go to even some open mics.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see more and more pop up. So
I've heard of a lot of guys having success with that and meeting their new bandmates or new, someone that they work with because of an open mic.
yeah.
So, anything else that you want to throw our way?
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Thank
man.
you for being our first drummer.
Yeah.
Thank you for being cool and growing a nice mustache.
Oh, thanks. Well, I owe you an album to play drums on. So anytime that you need that,
Yeah.
I'm indebted.
Got it, man.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna listen to some new fucking Shape Pitaki, motherfuckers.
Hell yeah, brother.
All right, you're welcome back anytime, Shane.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks, man.